you the citation for services rendered a needy veteran to Brad. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Some residents of the Pleasantview School District say the school is just an expansion of the old one-room schoolhouse in the country. Oklahoma has many schools like it. They call them county schools, dependent school districts instead of independent. But one group of residents say there is no need for it. Pleasantview has 117 students, grades 1 through 8. It has 6 classrooms and 4 teachers, and not as many facilities as a larger school district, such as Stillwater, which is adjacent to Pleasantview, just a few miles down the road. The group of residents that contacted me say, why have Pleasantview at all? The students have to transfer to Stillwater after the 8th grade anyway, and the Stillwater buses already run through the district to pick up those students, so why not take them all into the larger Stillwater schools? Plus, the group says there are other problems.
I went down and applied for transfers for my 3 children because my youngest one has learning disabilities and she needed to have the programs, and they did not offer it. So we waited and got our letter and said that they had been denied these transfers. So we went and we got ourselves an attorney, and this was the recourse, is that we could go to court. And we did. We went to court and we won. And we thought it was settled for good. But next year we applied again, and the same transfers were turned down, all 3. So we went back to court again, and we won this time also.
It was very difficult to get information about the facilities, the athletic facilities, playgrounds. Since we've got a young son, he's going to be out on the playground a lot, and playground facilities are almost nil. The school is not fenced, and the street that goes by is a very busy street, and it's dangerous to have youngsters out there. And I'm sure there's supervision, but there's no way that they can keep up with that many different students.
The group complained when they moved out there, no one told them they would be in the Pleasantview district. They assumed their children would attend Stillwater schools, and they say property values are declining because people don't want to move there and send their children to Pleasantview. But there is another side to the story. Before I was able to contact Pleasantview officials, I received what appeared to be an organized letter and phone call campaign saying what a good school Pleasantview is. I took the group's complaints to the county courthouse here in Stillwater to talk with Miss Faye Dawson, the superintendent over the Pleasantview School. Miss Dawson would not appear on camera, but she did talk with us, and she showed us some letters accrediting the Pleasantview School to state standards. She called the group's complaints ridiculous, and she said Pleasantview has as many, or at least the same, facilities of any small school, dependent or independent. She says she never objects to a child being transferred into Stillwater, but in the case of the Bilodeau family who wanted to transfer 1 child with a learning disability and 2 without, Dawson says that was too expensive. The court overruled her, and Pleasantview had to pay. As far as facilities are concerned, there are no vocational education programs at Pleasantview, but Ms. Dawson says a 4-H program is being organized, which might cover some of those areas. She said there is 1 full-time learning disabilities teacher, a visiting speech therapist, and teachers at Pleasantview qualified in teaching remedial reading. Ms. Dawson opposes annexing the Pleasantview School to the Stillwater school system. She says taking out a community school ruins the closeness of a neighborhood. And she says the quality of the school has nothing to do with its gadgets. It's what you teach the children that counts. However, Ms. Dawson said she would not consider an annexation move unless a majority of Pleasantview patrons desired it, something she was not convinced of. So I checked with the Stillwater School District Attorney, Winfrey Houston, to find the procedure for those desiring to have the district annexed to the adjacent Stillwater district.
There'll be a freeway out across here, and across the street, across Memorial, will be businesses, homes, there'll be a lake, there'll be condominiums, and all the way around here on the west. And so the whole park is going to be surrounded by progress.
Jenny Schneider is an explorer, scout leader, and a nature lover. She says Martin Park is a real jewel for Oklahoma City. Children come from all over to tour the park, not to mention science students and even some foreign visitors. But she fears it will be ruined by encroaching housing developments. She says she's heard a rumor that one developer might be trying to trade a piece of his land for a piece of parkland. Well, the sign leading into Martin Park says, "Leave only footprints, take only memories." Jenny says a construction company recently left more than a footprint. On the east side of Martin Park, Valverde homes are under construction, and workmen plowed into the park to connect up with the city sewer line. Jenny said no one knew they were coming, so she blocked the path of the bulldozer.
I came up here, and I got here at 7 a.m., and I stood here till about 10:15 until those people showed me some sort of permission to come in. And I figure if they do this, there's got to be some justification, and I still am not convinced that this was justifiable. Not when there's another junction box that's only 6 feet inside the park property. I don't know why they had to come in almost 2 blocks when they could have gone in 6 feet. Because nobody's going to argue about the fact that people need sewer line. It's just why come into a park, especially when the city signed an agreement to protect this area for 20 years. They were going to protect it for 20 years because they had this national recognition for the trail. And I hope we don't lose it.
Jenny is concerned that the bulldoze area be put back to a natural setting, so we talked with Denver Morris of Myers Construction Company, who was more than happy to comply.
In other words, we'll fill the corner back. See, we've got it cut out at present. We'll put it back, rip it up to where the trees and the grass that we put in there will grow. And we'll slope it back this way towards your area instead of the creek. And build your fence on out to the creek. And put some more trees in there.
Bill Crane is an avid motorcyclist. In fact, he just returned from a 4,000-mile trip to California. You have to like it to take a trip like that. Bill is also concerned about the image of bikers, and what bugs him is when he went to the state fair, he saw a sign that said no motorcycles beyond the gate.
They never made any effort to ride the bike, on the grounds. But I get up to the gate, and here's a sign: no dogs or motorcycles. And I have some very, very strong feelings about a sign that says no dogs and motorcycles.
Bill was so upset, he called me to see what I could find out about the sign.
You know, we're trying our best to improve the rider image, the motorcycle rider image here in the state of Oklahoma and all over the United States. But when the state fair puts up signs that says no dogs or motorcycles, I think that's discriminatory, derogatory.
Bill says his motorcycle is state inspected and state licensed. It ought to be allowed where cars are allowed. But his main concern now is the sign. Well, I went to gate 3 of the state fair, and sure enough, there was the sign Bill referred to. As a matter of fact, dogs got top billing. It said no dogs, no bicycles, no motorcycles. I asked veteran ticket taker Ron Parker about the policy.
We have trouble when they come up through here, just whizzing out in front of these cars and stuff.
So Parker said no motorcycles are allowed in, nor are those 3-wheeled motorized carts. As for lumping cyclists in with dogs on the sign, how come motorcycles and dogs are on the same sign?
That has been up here quite a while. I have no idea. I guess I hadn't really even thought about that. They've got them.
That kind of derogatory.
It sure is.
Bicycles and motorcyclists in the same category now.
And we won't let dogs in with leashes. We're just told that. Says don't let them in. They have never given us a reason.
Well, look at it from a dog's point of view. Why can't they go in with their masters? But the sign says no dogs, so regardless of how much they argue, dogs are turned away. They probably don't like the sign either. The very idea, lumping man's best friend in with bicycles and motorcycles. It may seem a little childish to you, but a landlord's dispute with a dumpster service, American Disposal, led to a 6-foot pile of smelly, fly-infested garbage. How would you like that outside your back door? Janice Wilson did not like it, but couldn't get anything done about it.
I've got 3 children, and I can't let them come outside because of this out here, and it's a health hazard, and it smells, and it looks bad, and it's just an awful thing, and it shouldn't be there. And I've been trying to call somebody to come out here and do something about it, and I haven't had no action at all whatsoever.
We could not locate the landlord, but the dispute apparently was over pickups of the garbage. Tenant said the garbage was not being picked up regularly. American Disposal said the bills weren't being paid. I contacted an American Disposal official. He said he wasn't aware his crew dumped the garbage, but Francis Barton saw them.
Well, they just hooked onto the dumpster, picked it up, and turned it upside down, and when it did, the dumpster fell too after they emptied it.
Just dumped.
They just turned it out and dumped it. He stated, I asked him what was going on. I said, what's the problem? He said the landlord had not paid. And I said, well, my goodness, couldn't you get a lien against his property or something rather than dump this mess out here for everybody to have to smell and see?
Well, the tenants didn't care about the dispute. They just wanted it cleaned up.
You know, they didn't have the common courtesy. They had this dump truck. They were going to take the dumpster away. They could have taken the trash and put it in that dumpster. It was that easy. And instead, they just dumped it on the ground to cause all this hassle.
What's it like sleeping above it?
It's not very pleasant at all.
A supervisor from American Disposal told me he didn't think it was his responsibility to clean it up, but he said he would come out and take a look at the mess to see what could be done, making no promises. However, when he arrived, it just so happened an official from the city sanitation department was there. No citation was issued, but American Disposal did clean up the mountain of garbage. While her husband works, Laura Owen has 3 children to take care of, a full-time job in itself. And you can't imagine how necessary water is taking care of children and a household. And you can't imagine how angry Laura gets when she turns on the faucet and gets nothing but a drip. Laura and others we talk to say the water is normally off every Thursday afternoon at Indian Creek, and sometimes more often.
This has gone on since we've lived here, and I've known about it, which is true, but I don't understand why they have to do it, and I just wanted an explanation.
I see. Does this cause you any problems with your children?
Yes. Yes. We can't take showers or baths during the day. We can't wash our hands or get a drink of water. I can't cook dinner until the water comes back on, and wash dishes, anything. They tell us it's for maintenance purposes. And I've called the water department and other apartments in the city, and they don't know why they would be doing it every Thursday.
The Thursday I visited Laura, the water was off for only 3.5 hours in the afternoon. Sometimes she says it's off for 6 hours, and that means rescheduling her dinner preparations, her laundry, and washing up the kids. She's asked the management about it. They say the water shut off is necessary for repairs at the complex. But why is everyone's water off and not just where the repairs are being made? When I contacted Indian Creek Management, they referred me to the Brentwood Properties Regional Vice President in Dallas, Randy Murrow. Now, Randy told me he was surprised that not everyone knew of the problem here at Indian Creek, which is when they built this complex several years ago, they put in one single water shutoff for the whole complex. That means they have to shut off water to everybody in order to fix one single leaky faucet. Well, for the convenience of the tenant, they decided to fix all the leaky faucets at one time, and that happens to be Thursday afternoons between 1 and 4. However, Randy was not sure that everybody knew about the policy, so he told me that he would send out letters to every tenant to make sure that somebody didn't start taking a long hot shower and get all soaked up and have the water shut off on them. Now, if you have a nagging problem, contact me at In Your Corner, KTVY-TV, Box 14068, Oklahoma City 73113, or give us a call at 478-2291. I'm Brad Edwards, In Your Corner. In our last report, we heard from the members. The two different financial services held the memberships. One was Chase Finance in Utah, and we were told there that memberships would be transferred to other spas or canceled. The Utah Attorney General's office is working on that one. The other financial service was Gary Holliday, the local owner of Spa Lady, who disappeared. Members paying him were uncertain what to do. Most decided not to continue paying Holliday. However, Patty Roper informed me she had received a letter from the Nautilus Fitness Center in Edmond saying they had bought the contracts from Spa Lady. She called them.
They said that they were doing it as a good favor, you know, that they wouldn't be making any money, that they had enough overhead from the other people that had joined them, and that they didn't need the money, that they were just doing it for all the women that had joined Lady Spa so that they could, you know, come and have somewhere to work out.
Did they say who they bought these contracts from?
No. They just said they had come in contact with somebody and were able to buy the contracts.
Because the letter indicated that contracts had been purchased from Spa Lady, we assumed its owner, Gary Holliday, might still be in town. Well, I talked with Nautilus manager John Ragland earlier this week, and he agreed to an interview this morning. However, his plans apparently changed. Well, it turns out that while members of the now-defunct Spa Lady were searching for the disappearing owner, Gary Holliday, Ragland was buying up Spa Lady memberships from Holliday. Ragland said, in fact, he bought about $27,000 worth for only $200. Apparently, Holliday needed the money for a plane ticket to Florida. Well, Ragland told us he hoped to get some of the members from Spa Lady to transfer to his spa here in Edmond. However, he said he would not actively try to collect on those contracts from ladies who did not transfer and still owe money to the now-defunct Spa Lady. From the outside of Willard Elementary School, it appears there is a roof on the building. But from the inside, you begin to wonder. Oklahoma City's oldest school building is extremely damp these days. The old part of the school was built in 1903, and the roof has been repaired numerous times. But now, water rolls down the walls. In the hallway from the new part of the building to the old, the mortar between the bricks is as soft as putty. Soaked, just soaked. Students have to dodge the puddles inside the building as well as out. As you walk up to the second floor, it gets worse. Water splashes there where it's dripped from the ceiling. Principal Alvin Owens and teachers Sherry LaFleur, Denzel Salatiel, and Joe Bashaw explained that they have to shuffle the children around depending on which rooms leak the worst. This room has had to be abandoned. No music class in here today. Ceiling tile are loose. Plaster is crumbling and water covers the floor.
Water, yes, I was just pouring.
3 of them have fallen off this year.
I know.
In my room.
I know.
One of them popped right down on a kid's desk.
You probably can't see it on camera, but there is water dripping into my face off the electrical light socket right above me here in the teacher's lounge, and yesterday one of the teachers turned this light switch on and heard a sizzling sound in it, like sparks were inside the wall. Plaster is loose here as well. Sherry LaFleur says it's dangerous.
I think that there is a lot of potential danger in the situation. When the roof tiles fall, they do have nails in them, and if one of these lands on a child, it possibly could injure them very badly. And I think something needs to be done before we have a tragedy.
We visited Sherry LaFleur's classroom, which is relatively dry except for the supply closets.
Wet. It's all wet. Wet Tinker Toys, wet everything.
Well, classes go on as usual in the dry rooms, but in the meantime, the custodian keeps busy mopping the floors, hoping none of the children slip when they walk through the hallways. Principal Alvin Owen says he can't seem to get anything done about it.
And they came out once or twice, and one time they indicated that the roof could not be repaired. It was too far gone. And then since that time, nothing has been done, but we've talked about it. And I just assumed that they were in the process of making a big decision to put on a new roof or attempt new repairs.
I see. Okay. But you haven't been getting too much response over here?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
After a tour of the leaky building, I went to the Oklahoma City Public School Administration building to see what could be done about the problem. School Superintendent Dr. Tom Payzant said he would take immediate action.
How fast can these procedures be taken to make that building safe?
Oh, very quickly. I think people have to realize that it doesn't rain in Oklahoma that much, and often when it does, we get very heavy rain in large quantities, and that makes problems show up that you may not be aware of for 4 or 5 or 6 months. So we'll get right on it. We're looking at ways to relocate some classes and move some students out of that third floor area, and just as soon as the rain stops so that we can get at it, we will do it.
Kathy Hamlin of Midwest City said she searched around for a good price on wall-to-wall carpeting. She thought she had found a good deal at an advertising circular called the Green Sheet. The ad had low carpet prices and low-cost installation by a carpet contractor. She said the contractor, Ralph Weeks Twady, never showed up to finish the job, and what he did was unsatisfactory. Loose seams and loose edges. Some of the carpet did not match color-wise. Kathy says Twady brought in some soiled, used carpet padding, and when it was unrolled, dead mice were inside it.
He had it all wrapped up. It wasn't folded or anything, just wadded up, and then they went through there with it. And I seen that it was used, you know, but I didn't know what to say. So he went on through, and I didn't see him. And then his wife come back through, and she mentioned there was one over there, and she said, I guess that the mice. There was a mice. She said a mouse ran out in the kitchen, and I said, well, I know that we don't have any. And so she said that, well, there was a baby over there. And so I didn't know what to say. I didn't say anything. So he went ahead and he laid the carpets in the bedroom. And then when he left, there was another one in the dining room, a baby one.
Twady not only denies that, he denies being there that day. The Hamlins say the contractor told them to take the doors off their closets and clean them out to get them ready for laying carpet. But Kathy says he never came back to do that. Ralph Weeks Twady lives here at 1129 Twilight Drive in Midwest City. He refused an interview on camera and for unknown reasons threatened to call police if we came by his house again to ask him about complaints. Well, after consulting his attorney, Mr. Twady agreed to a telephone interview to answer the complaints against him. Twady contends that in the case of Kathy Hamlin, he told her he was buying carpet remnants for her house and that they might not match. He says they agreed to that. Well, the Hamlins deny it, and remnants is not mentioned anywhere in their contract. He said he did not finish the Hamlins' job because they started doing the carpeting themselves, so he refused to come back. Well, the Hamlins say Mr. Twady just refused to finish the job. They got an estimate from another carpet company to finish the job and make repairs on the work that Twady had already done. The estimate, $700. Kathy says the first room he did looked good, so her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Lemon, hired Twitty to carpet their home before difficulties arose at her daughter's house.
He had some carpet, and it was not the carpet that I chose out of his sample that he was carrying. And so I had a piece of carpet here like I wanted. And so he said, let me take it and I'll see if I can find you the carpet. But this, my husband had looked out in the barn first, and he refused that carpet. It was torn up on the end, and so Mr. Talhoty said that it had fell out of his truck while it was in this condition. So he goes down and he says, I'll get some more and I'll bring out here and get your approval. So when I seen the carpet, he was already upstairs with it spread out. And I didn't give my approval either way. I just finally decided if I was going to get anything at all, I better accept it and shut up.
But once again, there was trouble. When she swept the carpeting, it came loose from the floor at the seams and edges. Plus, she said he damaged a poster bed and sink top. Once again, the Lemons could not get Twitty to come out and finish the job, and they became angry.
My husband called him again, and my husband was mad. And he asked him, he said, what I want to know, Ralph, is when you plan on laying our carpet. Would you answer me that? And evidently, Ralph said Wednesday. Weldon said Wednesday this week or Wednesday a year from now. He said, the point is you don't even plan to lay our carpet, do you? Finish it. And he said, I don't know if I will or not. And anyway, they got talking about Weldon said, well, I'll tell you what somebody ought to do. My husband said, what someone ought to do to you is just beat your head in. You know, you get by with that stuff all the time. So he said, well, I'm smarter than you are. He said, I got your $1,500, didn't I?
Mr. Twitty claims he didn't finish the job because they owed him more money. Meanwhile, the Lemons say they are tired of waiting and unsatisfied with the job, so they've also hired another company to clean it up and finish it. Against him, and only 19 of them have ever been answered. The Better Business Bureau says now Twitty refuses their mail. Well, his record also shows 7 different names for his company, among them Aero Carpets, C&A Carpets, Chief Carpets, Chief Carpet Service